Crocodile condensed a desert sword and bumped into it. Not to mention the hockey content and quality of both. In terms of power alone, Garp's fist is far from what she can compare. But fighting. Sometimes you don't need to think so much. No time to think. Boom. Sand blades shattered. Facing the swiftly approaching black fist, the elemental prediction is not enough. Crocodile crossed his hands in front of his chest, trying to resist. Unfortunately, the result was unsatisfactory. Wahahaha, I didn't expect it to be a girl. Garp laughed. The strength in his hands was not light at all. Crocodile felt an unstoppable force, and flew back to the warship at the speed of a cannonball. A mouthful of blood was also coughed up from the corner of his mouth. Rodan wanted to catch Crocodile's inverted body. Unexpectedly, carried by it, crashed into a cabin. Rodan shook his head slightly and moved her away. Crocodile, you are too weak. You still have face. Crocodile suddenly stopped speaking. Because indeed, as a woman, she couldn't even protect a mere man. It's not very good to say anything. Let her go. Of course I know. Rodan smiled, drew his knife and ran out quickly. This way. It is to buy some rest time for Mihoko. Other people's family is the strongest and save it for the end, but it's the opposite when it comes to me. Outboard. Rodan holds a knife in both hands, and walks on the snow with his arms wrapped around barely. But tightly wound on the moment, it dissipated. It's a pity that the talent is not good, full budget. It's only been 7 days since you got armament hockey. Used to this extent, it is already very pervert. But it's not enough. Rodan jumped over the railing. With a sudden force on one leg, he jumped tens of meters and slashed forward. There is no practice that can compare to adversity. At this time, Garp also came close. He grinned wide, with a special gleam in his eyes. Pirates like you should come from the Grand Line, right? Talking. He punches out. Mixed with the power that shakes the heavens and the earth, it just vents out like this. It's just air, and people who are squeezed can't breathe. General Donut, you guessed wrong. Rodan held onto the snow and walked, concentrating on chopping forward. Hockey. Successfully wound up. General Donuts. Garp feels a little funny about this title. Then don't look at it. That punch like a rushing thunder. Pong. Shuezo let out a scream. The blade tore a crack and flung it into the sky. Seeing the fist fall to the eyes, Rodan's eyes narrowed. An astonishing breath spread out. This made Garp's movement slightly stagnant, not because he was passively affected, but because he felt a little surprised. Conquerors. He grinned. Then I can't let you go, boy. At this time, a sharp flying slash roared from its side. Garp flicked it casually, thinking it would be easily smashed apart. Unexpectedly, he was knocked tens of meters away. Take this. Rodan burst back to the ship. Captain, let me come. Mihoko held the white sword Day in both hands, smiled slightly, and jumped up. Day attack. The voice fell. The sky and the earth changed color, flickering bright and dark. Garp's pupils shrank, feeling a terrifying pressure. Interesting, is there such a monster hidden? He stopped fooling around, gathered all his strength, and swung his iron fist again. Boom. Thunder and explosions sounded. Several slashes struck one after another, without letting go for a moment. Punch down. Blooming one after another gorgeous fireworks. Wait for Garp to finish. When I came back to my senses again, the small warship had long since disappeared without a trace. There are only a few sesame black spots left in the distance. Run away? Garp felt a little suffocated. How long has it been since you missed it? Still in East Blue. How does he feel? This trip is to set off fireworks for others. Give it away? Are you a master of swordsmanship? However, there are only so many swords can get rid of him. There are only a handful of them on the sea. There's no way he didn't know him. Garp looked at the slightly flushed fist. It's getting weirder. It's really strange. In fact, before he came, he only received a nearby call for help. Did not understand the actual situation. The battle between the two eagle eyes was even more confusing. Otherwise, I will understand. In addition, there is a top priority is Logue Town. Many hidden pirates took this opportunity to explode. Rodan pressed one hand on the deck, and the warship became transparent. Embarrassingly so. Living people cannot use the ability to be transparent. Such a scene looks like it is floating, if it is at night. That would be like a ghost, at this time. Because the sandstorm with Crocodile on the sails accelerated. It is in a state of rapid flight, and by chopping. With this, he managed to get rid of Garp. And after Mihuke made the final blow, Bai Daojo fell to the ground, and he was about to fall to the ground if his body became unstable. Roden's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. He reached out and pulled her into his arms. You are too brave. Protecting the captain is my mission. Mihoko smiled slightly. Rodan sniffed the fresh fragrance emanating from her body. A little dazed. At this moment, she seemed to have a feminine taste. Toshigi, who was tied to the corner, stared blankly. This man. What kind of charm is there that can actually make a woman so strong that she can defeat the world's #1 swordsman? Or rather, the female sword god, lying obediently in his arms, without the slightest opinion. Willing to be a crew member? And the other woman is not weak. Can easily defeat Colonel Smoker, whom he usually looks up to. Simply ridiculously strong. How did you do it? This day her little brain has endured a lot, things it shouldn't have endured. It must be something scary, she murmured. Naval Headquarters, Marineford, Marshal's office. Sengoku, who heard the news through Garp, couldn't help but widen his eyes. A great swordsman who rivals Hawkeye. No, it seems like he has one. It's all said by Marine from Logue Town. I don't know if I will win or not. I competed with her, and her strength is pretty good. The voice was low for a while, and then he laughed boldly. Ha ha ha, she is still a great female swordsman. That brat, Hawkeye, must be ashamed and thrown at Grandma's house. On the desk. There was a phone bug wriggling its mouth crazily. Then the two talked again, feeling that things were getting more and more difficult. Women. A total of 2 women and 1 man. Sengoku frowned deeply. What's the situation with that man? Not much contact. But he owns conquerors, but he doesn't seem to be very good in terms of strength. Garp's voice paused. The strange thing is. The 2 women seem to obey the man. Obey with him. Sengoku thought wildly for a while. A man with conquerors, the potential of a king, how can his strength be simple? Those who are willing to make the strong submit. Only the strong. And possibly even stronger. It can't be that he chose to surrender because he was greedy for his body, right? Ha 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 ha, who knows, maybe that guy is hiding his strength. Garp, even you didn't catch them, this matter needs to be taken seriously. Sengoku solemnly said, you just stay in East Blue and watch for the time being. Of course I know. Say it. Waiting for Sengoku to hang up. The opposite party was the first to hang up. This old guy. Sengoku shook his head and knocked on the table, feeling extremely uneasy in his heart. I have to contact the newspaper later. Before this matter is resolved, I can't announce too much. Still in East Blue. Then there is a chance to eradicate it. If you go to the Grand Line, you have a chance too. But a great swordsman comparable to Hawkeye, it's not about playing. Whether to arrest or retain him needs further discussion. Then you have to act quickly. This kind of explosive news, they are very fast every time. A white-haired old woman sitting opposite also had solemn eyes. She is Marine Vice Admiral and Staff Officer, Crane. The Sand Crocodile also needs to get in touch. This matter may have something to do with him. At this time, far away in Alabasta, in the Rainland City, in the rain banquet of the biggest casino. A spacious and luxurious interior. The voice of the phone bug, Blue, shattered the tranquility here. Crocodile with purple back hair. Leaning on the boss chair, he leisurely answered the call. Hey, Crocodile, do you have a sister? What? Crocodile almost spits out the cigar from his mouth. But after confirming that it was the call from Naval Headquarters, he pondered again. What's going on? A woman with the same ability as you, and the same dress as you. This matter. Lousy does not know. Crocodile's mouth twitched slightly. What is this, flying disaster? Last call. It seems that I misunderstood Hawkeye before. In fact, Crocodile has a little secret in his heart that he doesn't want to reveal. It's about women. It made him very uncomfortable to mention related matters. After some exchanges, Crocodile hung up the phone quickly, after calming down. The woman in the white hat sitting in the distance said, Robin, if this group of people comes to the Grand Line, issue a mission to investigate. If near Alabasta, just go and solve it by yourself. Ridiculous. He wanted to see what this guy who pretended to be himself looked like. As for fear, what a joke, the desert is his home field. Crocodile has absolute confidence. Good boss. Robin smiled and responded, New World. The bright moonlight shone down, making the World Economic News Agency shine brightly. But a loud roar almost shattered the beauty. The front page, it must be on the front page, and it must be edited. A big, albatross bird standing upright was extremely excited at this moment. East Blue's female Eagle Eye. The battle for the world's #1 swordsman. And it seems to have lost? And a woman imitating Shichibukai, Crocodile. Too much material for this new ship group. The little East Blue Bureau. It actually brought him such a big surprise. So excited for the bird. By the way, don't be suspicious, just write that the great swordsman was defeated. Morgans paced back and forth, urging the members of the news agency from time to time. There is also the man who stood behind them and never made a move. The more this is the case, the more it proves that his strength is terrifying. Let's do it quickly. As long as they enter New World, I'm afraid that countless people will join them. They may even attack the 4 emperors. Just when he was thinking that the newspaper would be a big hit in the future, a member of the newspaper office who came to him suddenly poured a basin of cold water on him. President, Marine called just now and told us to be careful. Except for the female Hawkeye, don't show your true face. At least not before they make a decision and offer a reward. Hawkeye can't cover it. The other 2. The headquarters may not want the newspaper to make up. Members of the newspaper were also very nervous. In addition, the Shichibukai from Alabasta also made a phone call. Crocodile was a little calm at first, but through some means of the Barlow work agency, after seeing the girlish face, his complexion just changed. Call the newspaper as soon as possible to prevent them from reporting this appearance. As soon as you appear on the scene, if it spread to the sea, some acquaintances would die laughing. He's a crocodile. Morgans was merciless. As the king who created a news kingdom, no one can command me. Talking. He paused suddenly. How much is Marine willing to pay this time? The next day, newspapers were printed successfully. Through the Xinu, specially cultivated by the newspaper office, batches of letters have been conveyed to all parts of the world. Soon, whether it is Marine, Pirate, or various kingdoms, they have all received the most exciting news of this latest issue. Front page. It is printed with 2 people wearing jazz wine red trench coats. A man and a woman. There is also a string of eye-catching titles on it. In the rest of the content, there are also a few phantoms printed. It was Mihoko in a wine-red windbreaker and a youthful and beautiful woman in a fur coat. The middle. Then there is a mysterious man with a question mark on his head. Hawkeye lost to a Hawkeye sister in East Blue? Choose the first throne of the great swordsman and let a woman occupy it. Isn't this a fabrication? Hey. Don't say it. This female Eagle Eye is pretty good looking, but I guess she is only in her 20s, who would believe such a ghost? I think it's a convulsion. Morgans dares to set up such a newspaper. When they saw the news, they didn't believe it at all. How strong can a female swordsman be? Moreover, it is still in the East Blue known as the weakest sea area. In addition, Morgans, the headline party, has exaggerated the facts not once or twice. Old journalists basically understand, but there is a point. News never strays too far from the truth. That's just too much nonsense. When everyone saw the picture of Hawkeye bleeding from his chest in the text, whether it was Shichibukai holding a newspaper, or the real emperors of New World, they were all stunned at this moment. Could it be? East Blue really has a woman who can beat Hawkeye? But that just sounds absurd. Even if it is true. They also didn't want to believe that Hawkeye would be overwhelmed by a woman. Wait, is this female swordsman someone else's subordinate? So this newspaper cannot be trusted. How could such a strong woman submit to others? Now, the journalists didn't know what to say. But they wondered again who this man was. It's this virtue again, is it for us to guess blindly? Really? Don't worry, there's no news from Marine yet. In fact, the real turmoil caused by this news was among the swordsmen. After all, everyone practiced swords. They are all eager to fight the world's #1 swordsman. Now turned into a woman, isn't this a joke? Far away in the New World, on a densely forested island, the red hair pirates who were stationed here at this time held a lively banquet amidst laughter. Captain, read this paper quickly. Something has happened to East Blue. A crew member with dark red hair and fangs in his mouth, roaring Gabu, came running quickly. He was holding a stack of newspapers in his hand, which was quickly divided up by everyone. East Blue? Usopp, your hometown, isn't that where you and your son are? Well, it sounds a bit nostalgic. Usopp nodded. And Luffy. The crew of red hair pirates were very impressed. His own captain lost an arm for him. What's the big deal? The cadres grabbed the newspaper one after another, but after reading it, there was an indescribable expression on their faces. Subsequently, all eyes are on Captain Shanks. What? Suddenly so quiet? Shanks just poured a beer. I just put it in my mouth, and I haven't had time to drink it yet. Ben Beckman stuffed the newspaper into his arms, beckoning him to take a good look. Don't drink yet. What if you don't drink? Shanks filled his mouth with the drink, picked it up and took a look. There was a long silence. The wine glass in his hand slammed into the tree rings in front of him. There was a bang. The crisp voice resounded in the ears of all the red-haired crew members. Everyone was quiet, and the captain's face could not be seen clearly. But guess what? Hawkeye is the captain's friend. That's for sure. In the past, I often came to challenge. The World Economic News Agency actually took. Just when everyone whispered, thinking that the captain was angry. A burst of laughter came out. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha. Shanks, with a ruddy nose, couldn't hold back the expression on his face, and laughed wantonly. Mihoke. Hawkeye little sister. This image is really amazing, this is his true face. Hawkeye's demeanor of an indifferent man in the past, this newspaper completely destroyed him. Talking. He actually slapped his legs hard with his hands. Laughing like a child. No way. The contrast between the two is too great. Always serious and handsome, Hawkeye turned her back to the other side, a glamorous girl in the same attire. The more he looked at it, the more he looked like he dragged his own sister to perform on stage. As for winning or losing, if it's true, he hopes it's not. If it is false, then he hoped it was true. Ha ha ha, I thought the captain had changed his character, but it turned out to be the same old one. Hey, Captain doesn't care that Hawkeye loses? You didn't know when you came here. No one would believe this kind of thing, right? In the distant seas of the Red Hair Pirates, Whitebeard on the pirate ship. I haven't had a chance to compete with him yet, why did I lose? Vista, wearing a dark blue top hat, was smoothing his beard with his hands. Seeing this, I almost broke it. Ha ha ha, Vista, in the future, you can set your goal to challenge a female Hawkeye. Bastard. What are you talking about, Marco? Vista grinned. As a qualified gentleman, how can he fight a lady? Of course he didn't believe it either. It wasn't until a few days later that the reward posted by Marine appeared that they realized how wrong they were. Woman. The same cannot be underestimated. Rodin's warship. After roughly repairing the damaged cabin, he took out a nautical chart and observed it carefully. The current direction is to go to the reverse mountain area. From the picture, it should be coming soon. Just avoid the giant rock wall belonging to the Red Line, find the canal in the center, and go up and down against the water. You can reach the first half of the Grand Line. In addition to crossing the calm belt, the first half can only be entered from the upside-down mountain. The position after entering is the starting point of the route. And the process of rapids and rock walls in China. It is extremely dangerous for ordinary pirates. But Rodan has no such scruples. At present, the two major powers on board are not for nothing. Most of them have sailing experience, and they can easily deal with dangers. Mihoko is a coffin boat that can travel across the entire ocean. Don't worry at all. Think like this. Rodan looked towards the bow of the ship. Mihoko training Tashigi. After a night of recovery, the latter was already alive and kicking. Former. Tashigi tossed for a long time, begging Rodan to let her go. But obviously unsatisfactory. Afterwards, it seemed that she was tired from shouting, and she stopped talking and quieted down. And Mihoko's recovery. It also made Tashigi become more honest, basically obediently obeying everything. In my place, make yourself beautiful. It's an honor to be here with Ms. Mihoko. Beautiful? Tashigi froze for a moment. Knowing that she couldn't escape for the time being, she thought about following this group of pirates first. And there is the world's #1 female swordsman here. Just learn 2 tricks, and I am afraid that they will be of great benefit in the future. Call my sister, and besides, is there anything wrong with pursuing beauty? After resupplying through Logue Town, Mihoko took off the inner lining, leaving only a wine-red windbreaker on. It was replaced by Wen-ji. This was specifically requested by Rodan, otherwise she would not wear it. Because of this, Crocodile also laughed hard. Until Rodan asked her to wear it too. Only then did he remain silent. Only by establishing the determination to become beautiful, will your progress in kendo be faster. Mihoke sat on a chair and said with a smile, otherwise, how do you think my sister became stronger? Is that so? Toshigi said in a daze. Will swordsmanship become stronger only if it becomes beautiful? Etc. What kind of logic is this? It doesn't make sense at all. But then again, with the body of a daughter, she has cultivated her swordsmanship to such a strong level. Mihoko is definitely number one. To be able to achieve this step, if there is no secret, it is definitely impossible. But the more beautiful the stronger, it is a bit far-fetched. Besides, Toshigi feels that handsome is more appropriate to describe her. The kind of handsome that belongs to women. Of course, since you're on the boat, you must make up your mind to be beautiful. How can you be so unkempt? Mihoko crossed her legs and shook her head slightly. After all, the strength is strong to order her to do more work. Besides, she felt that the little girl in front of her was a little inferior and not confident. There is no pride in being a woman. When it comes to dressing, I can't let go. She'll have to get it right. Sloppy? Toshigi was a little confused. First of all, you don't look good with short hair, which will affect the progress of your cultivation. In addition, Mihoko suddenly drew his knife. Then it swung Toshigi head on. Ah! Toshigi exclaimed, taking 2 steps back. Tear. There was a tear in her blouse. The others were intact, no bleeding or anything like that. Obviously not to hurt her. Toshigi looked down stiffly. At any time, he secretly glanced at Rodan not far away. He suddenly covered himself with both hands, squatting on the ground and blushing. Sister, what are you doing? She bit her lower lip lightly, tears welling up in the corners of her eyes. This is all to make you stronger. Also, you are a woman, what do you look like crying? Mihoko frowned slightly. Covering yourself up so tightly not only affects combat and cultivation, but also loses any sense of beauty. There is also a shortage of people on board. Replace it with someone else. But it's not so easy to be pointed out by her. Toshigi felt so innocent, can't women cry? Besides, she wants to change clothes immediately. Cultivation has just begun, so take off your glasses from now on, it doesn't look good at all. But I'm highly myopic. Blind people don't live anymore. And you haven't learned observation hockey yet, have you? Mihuke retracted the knife and kicked the broken shui zo in front of her. Stop squatting. The angle I draw is not that wide. Besides, there are no outsiders on the boat, so hurry up and practice. She's a little girl who chirps to this man. I'm really speechless. A big woman. But like a man, is it plausible? Listening to the reprimand not far away, Rodan, who was staring at the nautical chart, unconsciously tilted his eyes to one side. Subconsciously swallowed his saliva. This is the first time he has seen such a training method. Very strict. Rodan thought of Punk Hazard in the original book, The Personality Transplant, used by Trafalgar Law. After swapping Smoker and Toshigi, Toshigi's outfit looks very open. And that. Even now, what Mihoko wants Toshigi to look like is even better than that. Marine pretty girl Toshigi. Is it about to be born? Little Eagle is really my caring little padded jacket. Rodan took a sip of his hot tea and smiled. Then his eyes couldn't help but brighten up. I saw the reversing mountain. I can sign in again. Upside down the sides of the mountain. Climbing layers of blood-red rock walls, this is part of the red line. The center below it. There is a small narrow road. That is the canal, and if you follow it up, you will find the reversing mountain. Are you going to the Grand Line? Crocodile was smoking a cigar, and his long eyelashes trembled slightly. But just the first half. To meet Whitebeard in the second half, there is still a little distance. I'm going to meet your double body soon. Rodan walked forward and smiled slightly. Also, hurry up and practice physical skills in front of New World. You don't need to worry about it. Crocodile took a puff of smoke and snorted coldly. But just said it, she felt her mouth was empty. Not only that, the net stockings were also gently pinched and bounced back with a "bu." Crocodile shook her legs and clenched her fists. Is this fun? Rodan held her cigar in his left hand, pinched it casually and said, sorry, girls are not allowed to smoke on my boat from now on. You're too much, Rodan, you men shouldn't be smoking. Crocodile wanted to make a move, but I recalled the feeling of soreness and weakness all over my body. He forcibly endured it again. Just wait, one day I will ruthlessly ravage. You. A scarlet light flashed in Crocodile's eyes, up and down. His eyes flicked wildly at the man in front of him. I don't know what I'm thinking. You're always so confident. Rodan didn't care about this stubborn woman. Clatter. Right now. The warship officially approached the upside-down mountain. Strong currents made the ship extremely unstable. Go to the helm. Rodan changed his expression and ordered. Crocodile didn't say much, and only the wind and sand remained on the spot in a blink of an eye. And Mihoko trains Toshiji's progress also stopped. The latter let out a sigh of relief, but his flushed face did not dissipate, and he quickly ran into the locker room. Captain, Marine doesn't seem to be blocking our way to the Grand Line. Mihoko walked slowly, but even if it comes, it's not a big problem. She has recovered. Out of the way? Just cut it with a knife. Maybe it's too late, after all, we're already close to reversing mountain. Rodan frowned slightly. He also thought about this question. In addition, there is actually another possibility. They are waiting for us on the other side of the upside-down mountain, which is the sea area of Gemini Point. Mihoko said what was on his mind. Rodan said in a low voice. He is also thinking about countermeasures. With the current combat power, if Marine only sends one Admiral-level combat power, it can handle it. But if you send two, to kill them in the bud, it's hard to say. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just in case. Rodan never thought that Naval Headquarters would recruit himself to be a Shichibukai or something. After all, the number of Shichibukai is at full capacity now. Is it an exception to add another one, or kick it off? Hard to say. The main reason is that there are still more than 5 days left before the next time the girly character is summoned. Too late to call. Otherwise, it would not be too passive if there was another stronger one. Just when the warship approached the upside-down mountain that was rushing rapidly, the system sound suddenly sounded. Ding! It is detected that you are approaching a special area, which belongs to Red Line's upside-down mountain. A special check-in is available. Rewards are richer than ever. Will the host check in immediately? Special check-in? Rodan repeated. Curious, but also nodded. The system can always surprise him. Ding, successfully signed in. Congratulations on getting the Fame training card, and a chance to randomly draw a sissy character. At this time, because of a daze, the warship has rushed up into the upwelling current of the upside-down mountain. Seeing that the captain was silent, Mihoko didn't say much. And Rodan. But he didn't think so much. Just go and go. Let's talk about it later, there is always a way. Now his attention is all focused on the special rewards. Can the chance to draw a sissy character be signed in? Rodan was overjoyed. Whatever you say. A special check-in is indeed a special check-in. Just a week left for him. System. Draw it now, and introduce the Fame training card. Random selection. Fame training card. The training card can speed up the host's practice, hockey, physical skills, fruit ability, in all directions, without side effects. Note. The higher the reputation of the host in the world, the greater the effect of the supply of training cards. Only for one person. Is it ready to receive? In other words, it can absorb the fame, and then assist and accelerate the results of practice. Receive. Rodan said without hesitation. Next second. A red token-like object appeared in his hand. A handshake. Rodan felt a cool feeling. Subsequently, sudden mutation. The Fame training card began to change color, and finally turned completely orange. Before Rodan was puzzled, the system gave a prompt. Fame training cards are divided into 7 grades of color. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, blue, purple. A rank represents a cultivation speed. Your current reputation is in the orange state, and your personal practice has increased by 5 times. The system language falls. Then he stopped talking. Rodan held the token until there was a loud jolt from the sound of the boat. Only then did he react. Good stuff. Doesn't this just make up for his shortcoming of not having enough time to practice? 5 times faster. That is, 1 day of practice is equal to 5 days. It saves more than half of the time, and it is not the limit. Currently orange. The level of fame is not high, and after some improvement, it will only be faster. Rodan is going to make a big fuss. Boom. The hull shook again, but quickly regained its balance. There are Crocodile and Mihoko. Rodan wasn't worried. So, who will be the sissy character? Why is it so slow this time? It's really tormenting. Call out. The water flowed towards the warship until it reached the peak of reversing mountain. In this way, still unabated, he flew into the air along with the inertia. Several people felt that their bodies were hanging in the air, so they quickly grabbed the object to avoid being thrown. Hoo. Wipe the hurricane. The warship slipped down again, entered another mountain, and went down the rapids along the waterway. Grand Line is about to officially step in. It was at this time. The system beeps. Congratulations on getting a sissy character. Baki, the goddess of luck. Do you want to call now? What? Buggy. Rodan heard the words. Slightly disappointed. Isn't Buggy a mascot? How strong can this guy be? But when he clicked on Baki's gorgeous profile, his sense of loss was instantly swept away. Nickname 1000 Liangdaohua, now separated from 7 warlords of the sea. Strength. 3.5 stars. The combat factors are diverse, and the star rating is for reference only. Age 28, origin parallel world 88. Experience. Baji has been an intern in the Roger Pirates since childhood, and grew up with Shanks as a good friend during the Pirates. After Roger's pirate group disbanded, Shanks even invited him to join his own pirate group, but Baki wanted to refuse. But being laughed at by outsiders, the two children were overwhelmed. That's fine. Later, he was laughed at as a landlubber. This inadvertently exposed Baki's scar. The engraved hatred for Shanks flooded into my heart again. When Baki was 13 years old, she could have secretly taken the devil fruit, which sold for 100 million berry, and the treasure map for herself, but because Shanks let her eat the devil fruit by mistake, and took it, treasure map dropped into seawater. Fall short, nothing left. So far. Back then, Baki pretended to agree to join. Became the first officer of the Red Hair Pirates, only no one knew it. Her real purpose is to seize the treasures accumulated by the red-haired group in the future. And improve your strength to kill Shanks. A blink of an eye. 5 winters passed. At the age of 25, she is no longer a young girl. Baji relies on her fruit ability and constantly challenges a powerful enemy. Has become a veritable second in command, also on a certain night. She openly declared her challenge to Shanks, and bet all her treasure and her life. The redhead smiled. Result. As expected. After a fierce battle, Shanks, who is good at using a sword, regrettably lost. Just when Baki was about to kill Shanks, he recalled the scenes of getting along with Roger's group, but he didn't make up his mind. After kicking over a group of crew members who lived together day and night and taking most of the treasure of the whole regiment, he left the Red Hair Pirates. This period. Her fruit ability has been awakened, and her strength has climbed to a new peak. I have absolute confidence in my heart. Thereafter. She was even invited to become 7 warlords of the sea in New World. But Bucky's ambitions don't stop there. The road to her treasure just began. After tasting the sweetness of betting against Shanks, she set her sights on other swordsmen. That's right. If you don't look for anything else, just look for a swordsman. Then bet on berry in units of 100 million. Look around New World for sword fighting opponents. With the convenience of chop fruit, the foil of the Whitebeard regiment, the Shiryu of the Ron of Impel Down, and the young Hawkeye are not her enemies. Even if they don't want to fight, Baji will also use a little trick and have to let them fight. The point is that very few people seek revenge on her. That's all. She won a God-tier Baji, Swordsman Terminator, Goddess of Luck, and other admirable titles. Accumulated momentum to the peak. That is, when Bucky was 28 years old. Thinking the time is right, I resolutely chose to quit 7 warlords of the sea. It is planned to form the most powerful super ship group that can win the wealth of the world and finally find the Raftel. Before that, in order to further build popularity, she used to be an intern at Roger, and it was the first time that she did not bet on money. Open to the world, challenge the right wrist of One Piece, Liv, the master of swordsmanship, Pluton Lely. But maybe the ginger is still old and spicy. Perhaps Lady Luck no longer favored her. This time it was defeated. Challenge. Stop there. After Rodan finished reading, my heart was greatly shaken. This girly Baki from the parallel world is actually so strong? Overcome the redhead. Also challenged wave after wave of kendo masters, except for Rayleigh, they all won? Certainly. The strong man at that time may be young and has not yet reached the peak of personal strength. And Baji also has the ability of chop fruit. Basically immune to slashing, but only by fruit. Without strong physical skills, it is absolutely impossible to win. Clatter. A wave rushed onto the warship and splashed on the hem of Rodan's clothes. But he didn't notice it. Instead, in his heart, he immediately exhaled the word, summoning. On his boat. Combat power is in short supply. Baki's arrival undoubtedly quenched his great thirst. Call. A crack opened in the center of the ship. Mihoko and Crocodile. And Toshigi, who was forced to put on the low fierce clothes. All eyes turned there. Especially Toshigi was even more surprised. What is this? It's the captain's ability. Mihoko explained lightly. She passed through a space-time tunnel, so she was naturally familiar with it. Tisk. Is someone coming again? I don't know who it is. Crocodile for the poor fellow. Feel sad. That guy Riley. Wouldn't let me. Everyone only heard a female voice like a wind chime. Subsequently, a cute girl with disheveled hair and light pink makeup came out of the vortex. Her pretty face was slightly lowered. At this moment, his expression seemed a little lost. Blue hair, blue eyebrows, red nose, red lips, you are. Toshigi felt a little familiar, and kept flipping through his mind. As a competent marine sergeant, she has taken down most of the East Blue pirates. The one in front of me. Toshigi quietly put on his glasses and observed. Is it the clown Buggy who offered a reward of 15 million berry? But, why is there such a big difference from the reward order? If not for a few features that are obvious, she didn't recognize it at all. It looks better than the reward, and it's too delicate. The figure is also slimmer. It's not like. No, it's not a man at all. And how did he get here from East Blue out of thin air? Is devil fruit so magical? Since getting on the Rodan boat. Toshigi doesn't stop for a moment, his mind is full of question marks, and nothing makes sense. Especially some common sense questions, has been seriously challenged. What? 15 million berry, are you laughing at me? Bajie moved a little more. Folding his arms across his chest, he gave Toshigi a hard look. Even though the sound was small, she still heard it. But at this time, she didn't pursue too much. Baki's 3 steps become 2 steps. Immediately came to Rodan's side, bent down lightly, and respectfully said, Captain Rodan. Stretch out loose clothes, some blurred. Rodan gave a dry cough, motioned her to stand up, and then solemnly announced to everyone. From now on, Baji will be a member of our ship. She has good strength, and everyone should take care of each other. Bucky? Crocodile thought about it. Never heard of this little character in the horns. Mihoko does know him. I remember Bucky. Shanks once mentioned to me by accident, she is a good friend of hers on Roger's ship. But after we separated, it seems that he has been unknown all the time, and his strength is also low. Mihoke. You are the only one who is unknown, you were defeated. Baki clenched her fists and cursed back. Talk about her in front of the captain. How does this make people mess up? The defeated general. Mihoke raised an eyebrow. She doesn't remember that she lost to such an unremarkable guy. Okay. About Baki's strength, we'll know if we have more private conversations in the future. Rodan interrupted them. Speaking up. The characters in the girly world seem to have good looks, and each has their own temperament. Just like Bucky in front of me, obviously 28. She looks like an 18-year-old girl, exuding a youthful and energetic temperament. Certainly. The most important thing is combat power. The strength of 3.5 stars, and the awakened fruit. It is definitely not weak. Especially chop fruit, he likes to see what kind of power it can play when it is developed to a high level. That. The captain. Baki, with messy hair, trembled slightly. Rodan asked suspiciously, what's wrong? Is there a bathroom? I want to take a shower. Bucky felt a little embarrassed. She and Rayleigh fought for a day before it was decided. Clothes are dirty. Before the image had time to take care of itself, it was summoned. Manner and behavior. She still takes it seriously. This look must be very embarrassing, and it will damage her first impression. Okay. Hot water happens to be stored. Rodan nodded. Toshigi, take her. Don't bother the captain, I probably know the location. Bucky said. He ran in hastily. No? Rodan was slightly taken aback. The color of knowledge. Can you do this? Bucky? I've never heard of it, and it doesn't look very strong. You won't find a drag. Crocodile looked away. He put his right leg on the railing rudely, without the restraint of a woman at all. Rodan smiled and said nothing. People, it's much stronger than you. Mother Crocodile. Put your legs back, don't be so careless all day long. What did you call me? Crocodile was slightly taken aback. This title. Seems pretty good. If it's called Lord Crocodile, then I can't bear it. Call. The manic mist and wind slapped everyone. At this time, following the strong wind and torrent, the warship is about to plunge headlong into the upside-down mountain. Gemini Cape waters. They will officially come to the Grand Line, the beginning of the first half. Hold head high. A roar of beasts suddenly pierced through. Before. Why is there a wall in front of it? That's an island whale. If you go any further, you're about to crash into it. Mihoko said. He put his hand on the knife behind him. Mihoko. Sister. Toshigi was a little surprised when he saw this. I've heard that this is the largest island whale in the world, shouldn't it be cut open? Don't you know if you don't try? Let's avoid it first. Rodan commanded. Full left rudder, but. He had just finished speaking. The giant whale lowered its head, opened its big mouth, and sucked it in. At this time, whether it's ocean currents or air currents, they all rushed into his mouth. The speed is even faster. The warship rushed forward. Before everyone could move in the future, they were sucked in by him. After the hull rushed into the huge and sharp mouth of the giant whale. Then slide all the way down. Everyone looked up. You can even see the meaty mouth of the whale, and some faint fishy smells. Captain, do you want to break through? Asked Mihawk. Being not. Rodan remembered. There should be an old man who guards the lighthouse living in it. This is also his purpose. After entering the Grand Line. The geomagnetism, celestial phenomena, currents and air currents at sea are all chaotic. I can't even determine my location, let alone follow the route to the island. There is only one way to solve it. That is to get the record pointer, or permanent pointer. To navigate, without which it is impossible to move an inch. In the original book, the lighthouse old man wears a record pointer on his hand. It was later given to Luffy. That's right. Rodan is here to rob. So far. The small warship also passed through the corridors and came to a sea of slightly green. As this? The stomach juice of a whale? Toshigi's eyes widened. And directly above it, there is a delicate pair of clouds and seagulls. The weird thing is, they seem to stand still in the air, motionless. Appears to be painted? How did you do it? Toshigi feels knowledgeable again. This day's experience is far more exciting than staying in Logue Town. What Rodan thought was the Truman world. In the vast gastric juices of whales. Right in the center. There are two tiny floating islands, our landmasses. Peace. There is a coconut tree planted on it. Another fast and slightly larger plot. On the other hand, there is a simple house, and there are shelves with colorful clothes on the side. There is a sense of leisurely tranquility. What and what, the number one swordsman has changed. A strong old man was lying on a deck chair. He opened the newspaper with both hands, and his eyes widened slightly. This newspaper published by Morgan's is interesting. His name is Crocus, and he guards the lighthouse at Twin Point every day. The only thing that can be used as a pastime. It is newspaper. But today's front page really confuses him. Although after coming out of the Roger Pirates, more than 20 years of isolation from the world have passed. But he's not stupid. Do you think that an unknown girl can defeat the world's number one swordsman? Just as he continued to read with a curious mind, there was a sound of crashing waves, interrupted him. Subsequently, he saw a slightly tattered warship floating in front of him. Marine? He was slightly taken aback. But after seeing a few people on the boat, he suddenly lost his composure. Especially the beautiful woman in the jazz hat. Crocus's hands trembled slightly, and he quickly looked down at the newspaper on the front page. He looked up again. Bow again, as if repeating to confirm something. Opposite. Let's go and have a look. Rodan stared at the old man, not talking nonsense. Say it. Before he jumped away, Mihoko moved his robe, embraced Rodan, and jumped to the front. Boom. After landing, Rodan looked closely at the woman holding him. How many question marks appeared on the forehead? Too much. Crocodile followed suit. You were quite considerate. Isn't it necessary to do something for the captain of a man? Gentleman Mihoko asked back. I can jump over by myself. Rodan was tired. The subordinates are not good at this point, they always treat him like a woman. But consider himself a man. Talking. He came to the old man and said with a smile, this must be Mr. Crocus, by the way, you probably don't know us yet. Mihoko and Crocodile. They also stood on both sides of Rodan from left to right. At this time, with his arms around his chest, he looked full of momentum. You. Crocus opened his eyes suddenly, bloodshot, of course I know. Crocodile snorted and pointed at himself. Yes, then who am I? You? Crocus said in a deep voice, are you 7 warlords of the sea? You know? Crocodile couldn't believe it. This is the lordly world, why does anyone know her? See her first feeling. Shouldn't you feel like you're a little fangirl imitating Alabasta? Sand Crocodile. Do you think I'm a fool? How could I not know you? Crocus feigned anger and said, more than that. If I remember correctly, the person next to you should also be Shichibukai, the world's #1 swordsman, Hakai Mihawk. His tone, full of deep affirmation, Crocus said seriously, I don't know two famous people, come to my old man, what's the matter? Mihoko heard the words, he glanced blankly at Rodan. As if to say, is this old man dazzled, are really old and confused? Can't tell the gender. Cough cough, it's up to you. Instead, Rodan was a little embarrassed. Mr. Crocus, are you sure you read that correctly? Young man, do you think I'm old and blind? How could I be wrong about such a famous person? Crocus slammed the newspaper, his face full of displeasure. Say so. In fact, his old heart was in a panic. There is also a reason for referring to a deer as a horse. He can serve as a ship doctor for the Roger Pirates. Medical skills must still be able to see the past. In front of. Judging from this newspaper and the clothes of this group of people. He was quite sure. The two women suffered from hypochondria. He had encountered such cases in the past. There was an ordinary pirate who fantasized himself as a certain famous super pirate. That's fine. It is surprising. This unremarkable pirate is actually on the road to becoming stronger step by step. Whether it's a boat dress or a style of acting, they are all the same. It brings a sense of depth and depth. In the end, he surpassed the true master and killed him in one fell swoop. Completely replace it. And in the face of this kind of person, you must not expose your true identity. Otherwise, the other party will become angry and think it is nonsense. Then kill the debunker directly, Crocus thinks. The female, sand crocodile, and Hawkeye in front of me suffer from these two symptoms. It's okay to dress the same. Gender is also different. It is almost 100% conclusive. Especially this, female eagle eye, has been published in the newspapers. Is she really going to challenge the real lord? It's not a replacement, is it? So take it seriously. You must not show the slightest bit of inadequacy. Not only can't deny it, we must be extremely sure that they are the original owners. For my own life. Crocus let out a long sigh and unconsciously, there was a trace of sweat on his palm. As a man who has experienced strong winds and waves on the One Piece ship. This is still manageable. Rodan smiled. The old man, do you know who I am? You? Crocus raised an eyebrow. Then he looked up and down carefully and pondered. I know what a fart. This is obviously just an ordinary, handsome guy. But in order not to anger the patient, he still wrote lightly, you are the man standing behind Shichibukai. Captain, I'm done. A beautiful girlish voice suddenly sounded. I saw a woman with two blue ponytail whips jumping forward. Boom. The stones on the ground shook. Bucky put his hands on his hips. But when she saw the old man on the reclining chair, her beautiful eyes opened slightly. Pointing forward with one finger, his tone trembled. You. Seeing this, Crocus was also stunned. He didn't even know that the slippers hooked on his feet fell to the ground. After reacting, he quickly took off his reading glasses and stared straight at it, as if he was confirming something. Little Buggy. Crocus wiped his eyes, staring at the slim girl with bulging pectoral muscles in front of her. Beautiful girl? It's not right, isn't it a boy? Did he remember wrongly? But blue hair and red nose are both right. PFF'd. Ms. Kulokas. No, it's Mr. Now. Bucky suppressed a smile. She looked at Crocus, who had turned into a master, with an unshaven beard, and was inexplicably happy. This familiar tone. It's just that the sound is too feminine. Crocus was even more puzzled. More than 20 years ago, he was invited to be a ship doctor in the Roger Pirates to treat Roger's illness to ensure that he can complete the journey of the Grand Line. And at that time, Buggy and Shanks have been together as the youngest trainee crew. He also knew the two boys very well. Why in a blink of an eye? The former became a girl. Could it be? A patient who fantasizes about Buggy. You. What are you thinking, Mr. Crocus? Bucky seemed to have guessed what he was thinking. Stretch out your palm. He took the initiative to leave his body and flew in midair. See this scene. Crocus' eyes moved slightly. That's right. Definitely that guy Buggy. The appearance of characters may be imitated and changed, but the ability of Devil Fruit can never be changed. Buggy. Why are you on this boat? Crocus still has a lot of doubts in his heart. But the mood also relaxed. Also, how did you become like this? Could it be? Buggy was actually a little girl back in the Jackson. To hide his identity as a pirate, I don't want others to look down on me. So I pretended to be a little boy, and I couldn't hide it until I grew up and developed. Think like this. I can accept a few points. Crocus nodded to himself. So this is all. I've always been like this. Bucky withdrew his hand and put the two ponytails in front of his shoulders. I'm on this ship because I'm currently Captain Rodin's crew. For this old ship doctor. Long time no see, she also has many memories. Pity. She was busy participating in many challenges in the past. No time to see her. Unexpectedly, after first coming to this world, they encountered it all at once. It was a surprise. Rodan. Crocus refolded the newspaper, compared it with the man in front of him, and said, then this must be Captain Rodan. Mysterious man with a shadow on the newspaper. That. What happened to the two next to him? Did they recruit two patients? It's me. Rodan nodded. I'm actually here this time. By the way, you were going to record the pointer. Crocus suddenly smiled. He is observant. I didn't see this group of people carrying pointers, and most of the pirates who came down in the past were also troubled by this. So it's easy to guess. Rodan was a little surprised. That's right. Since it's the captain of Little Buggy, it's a small matter. I happen to have one here too. Crocus stood up. After taking out the record pointer from the room, he gave it to Rodan. Rodan thanked him after taking over. I thought it would take a little tossing around. Didn't expect it to be so easy. Curious Baji, I want to go up and chat with this Grand Crocus to see what's different. But because Rodan didn't move, she stopped where she was. Don't dare to do unnecessary actions. Go, it happens that we just came down from Reverse Mountain, so we'll stay here for a while. Rodan glanced at Bucky. Then the record pointer was studied. Entering the Grand Line, you will first be faced with the choice of choosing several routes. Rodan is going to save some money to buy a nice boat. So go to the capital of Seven Waters. After all, this small warship. With the increase of personnel, the space is definitely not enough. And also some damage. If it is serious, he can't stand it anymore, so it is imminent to change the ship. Baki on one side got a reply from the captain. So I went up to chat with Crocus for a while, chatted about what happened during the period, and saw what had changed. It was the latter, and some became more and more confused the more they listened. Beat Vista, Hawkeye, and Redhead, and challenge Rayleigh? Has Buggy become so good? Why not on the news? Or is this kid more bragging than before? Time passed quickly. After saying hello to Crocus at the end, everyone boarded the boat and left here. Take care of this girl more. Do not worry. Rodan responded with a smile from the boat. The warship drilled out along the entrance and disappeared into the gastric juice. Buggy has a great captain. Crocus rested his hands on the back of his forehead. This little guy is also a girl. After contact with Baki, his has slowly come to terms with the fact that she is a girl. Personality doesn't seem to change much. Still so fond of money. However, he was more courageous than before, and his bragging became louder and louder. In the future, I'm afraid they will often appear in the newspapers. The clown Buggy, who was far away in East Blue, sneezed hard, unaware that he had become a girl in the eyes of the old ship doctor. At this time, on the sea in front of the upside-down mountain, a marine fleet is galloping quickly. At the same time, on top of the mountain, a warship with a dog gnawing its bone on the bow also slid down rapidly. The two sides have faintly formed a pincer attack, outflanking something. A large warship in the waters of Cape Twins. Deck. Facing the wind stood a famous woman marine. Bow. Then stood two women wearing justice cloaks. An old man with a short ponytail. A tall man with a bun. The whole body is full of peachy temperament, and the clothes are mainly pink. Guillaume, our contact this time is mainly based on observation. Crane crossed his arms and looked into the distance quietly. That guy Garp hasn't fought them much, and he hasn't tested his true strength, so it's not good to be arbitrary. Our seeing is believing. The statements of the eyewitnesses in Logue Town are somewhat exaggerated. But don't deny its strength, even if you can't win. The strength close to Hawkeye should not be fake. And after they get in close contact with each other, they can get more accurate answers. At this time, a female soldier on the watchtower suddenly called out, Crane Vice Admiral, we found their ship. Then speed up. The Crane nodded and gave the order. Soon. The speed of this female warship suddenly increased. Rodin's ship. Just out of upside-down mountain range. Then they found a large warship driving ahead. Captain, there's another one behind, it looks like Garp's ship. Bucky stood on the mast, looking high up, in her world. When I was a Shichibukai for a period of time, I naturally had contact with Garp. So easy to spot. Is this trying to outflank us? Rodan stared coldly. Marine is also really fast. But the strange thing is that the other party does not seem to open the cannon on the ship. They should have no intention of attacking. Mihoko stepped forward and said, HMPH, Marine is still that Marine, bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Crocodile was extremely disdainful. Strong. There is capital for conversation. Weak. Don't say anything, just do it. It's quite a measure of loss. At this time, Tashigi also noticed the two iconic ships of Marine. Will it be to save me? She whispered. To be honest. Tashigi is a little conflicted inside. On the one hand, eager to become stronger, follow Mihoko. It must be an opportunity to see more famous knives. And Mihoko taught herself personally, although the teaching method is somewhat unintelligible. But also in person. If she was placed in the branch, no one would pay attention to her at all, and she had to practice blindly by herself. But if she doesn't go back to Marine, wouldn't she be a traitor? Crane's main ship is approaching. Roden's eyes flickered, but he didn't make a sound. The rest of the crew did not move. Wanted to see what they were going to do. After the two ships are completely close, Crane with arms folded around his chest spoke first. Excuse me. Which Captain Rodan? Rodan is not a woman's name. Rodan, who was already at the bow, smiled and said, Is there anyone else here besides me? He had some doubts in his heart. They only sent Crane and Momoshagi, so there is no plan to go to war right now? Captain Rodan. Crane nodded and showed a slight smile. I'll just say it straight, I don't know if you are interested in joining 7 warlords of the sea. She saw Mihoko and Crocodile. The two were indeed vaguely headed by Rodan. Then his strength. Definitely need to re-evaluate. Isn't Shichibukai full? Rodan asked subconsciously. It's full, but it's not impossible to remove one. He continued. If your excellency agrees, you can completely replace one of them. 2 weak Shichibukai. It is also useless for Marine. Although it is called the 3rd largest force of the Grand Line, we must also see who gave it to us. As long as they seize the opportunity and handle, that can immediately be charged and sent to impel down. Not hard to shake. So, Roden's gang are qualified to take the place. Even faintly beyond. Just nod to arrange instantly. Certainly. That being said, but really powerful pirates will not choose to join if it is not necessary. Shichibukai is in the eyes of many people, but lackeys. Freedom to wander as you like. That's what the pirates are after. So that's the case. But I can't make a decision right away, I need to think about it. Rodan didn't immediately refuse. If you have the rights and status of Shichibukai, it is still very convenient to travel on this sea. Not only did not pursue the crimes committed before. Even if there is a private plunder, it will be acquiesced by the world government, and it will only pay tribute if it is discovered. But that didn't appeal to Rodan. Now he has the fame training card. If become Shichibukai, fame will start in a short time, but the consequences are. The heat doesn't last. On the contrary, if you continue galloping to the sea, one big movement after another is made, and the news agency keeps announcing it, and the fame token will rise rapidly. Let your own strength rise rapidly, besides. Just give yourself time. Sooner or later, more strong men will be summoned to form a unique supergirly big ship group. Shock the world. Beyond the 4 emperors, so. He didn't really care. Is that so? He seemed to have expected it long ago. We will give you 3 days to think about it, and I hope you will not make a wrong judgment. If not necessary. Marine didn't want to start a war rashly. They don't want to bear any loss of high-end combat power. A match for Hawkeye. It is extremely difficult to catch up with the desire to run. If you don't catch it, and then let it join a certain force, it will be even worse. Of course, those who know current affairs are the best. Rodan felt a little interesting. Her domineering and decisive tone was quite confident. Hope to keep it in the future. Actually, I'm curious about the true strength of your crew. Crane suddenly said. So, can I let Guillaume next to me try it for a while? She was actually more curious about Roden's strength. But to put it bluntly, maybe overdoing it. Crocodile stepped forward. Marine, you are quite arrogant. No. Just wanted to try my hand. The rabbit's eyes flickered. He tightened the golden piro around his waist. The woman who was rumored to have defeated the #1 swordsman, she really wanted to try. In the end, there is no such weight. Rodan wasn't paying attention to what they were saying. Because of his mind, got dragged to the other side. It was the system beeping. Ding. Congratulations to host for triggering the main mission, Shichibukai's attraction. You now have the following two options. 1. Agree to solicit, and have been in office for more than 3 consecutive months, complete the task, and reward the host with a personal girly chance. 2. Refuse to solicit and make Shichibukai disappear from the world. After completing the task, there will be a Super 10 consecutive draw. Killing a Shichibukai, or abdicating one, can reduce the character extraction time by 2 days. You have 3 days to think about it, on task difficulty. No doubt. The first one is simpler, but also takes longer. But what the hell is the reward? Personal pussy. There is no need to sissy yourself. Besides, he didn't want to join Shichibukai, so he interrupted. And the second? Very hateful. Hard to say. In fact, it is not difficult. There are 2 ways to make Shichibukai disappear. Kill. Or persuade him to leave office, isn't it gone? As long as the speed is fast, the appointment of the government cannot keep up. Another. Negotiate with world government to abolish the Shichibukai system. But, in its eyes, which onion do you count? It is estimated that the 5 elders do not know their own names. Definitely not going to work. Look at it this way. The selection comes out. The ghost waits for 3 days and can decide now. System, I choose 2. Rodan said in his heart. The rewards of Task 2 are not generally rich. There are only 1 or 2 rewards for signing in once. I have to run around here and there. These 10 consecutive draws are very refreshing. Sign in is not affected. Successfully choose Task 2, you have 30 days to complete, please hurry up. At this time, Captain. Mihoko's soft voice echoed softly in Rodan's ear. Kitty Hawk, keep an eye on Garp in the rear. Rodan came back to his senses and smiled. Do you want to test the strength of my subordinates? It's okay. Madam Baji, it's up to you. He glanced at Bucky. The strength of this new crew member also happened to take this opportunity to learn about it. Say it. Baki obediently walked forward, lowering his head slightly. His eyes flickered. The light of treasure. Captain, grab their boat by the way, there must be a lot of valuable things on it. She whispered. Wait a little while to cooperate with me. This. As long as you can do it, you can do whatever you want. Rodan said. Marine's attitude, at least for now, is moderate. Take her a warship. Not too much, right? Anyway, don't steal people. At this time. On the other hand, she? Tiautu was taken aback for a moment. Captain Rodan, are you perfunctory? She should have just boarded the ship. Are you looking down on her? To send such an inconspicuous little character? This delicate look. It is not necessary to treat them as Marines. Guion is our Marines Admiral candidate, please take it seriously. Crane coughed. The meaning is also obvious, it is best to change someone. Rodan spread his hands, it's already very serious. Say it. Momosagi and Crane looked at each other slightly. Not much to say. The former drew a knife smoothly, and the spider patterns on the sides of the 2 pairs of white legs flashed. Disappeared in place. It came to the air in one fell swoop, and slashed down fiercely. Call out. The peachy slash fell, with an indomitable momentum. Baki's ankle cracked, and his whole body rushed up. Immediately afterwards, press on the chop with one hand. Next second, the slash turned into countless slits, splitting open in midair. Lacing down the sides. After falling on the seawater, water waves were splashed out. Momosagi's expression changed. Then his right foot suddenly stuck in the air, and broke out again. Faye rushed to Baji, and swung a knife down his waist. Still hold back a little bit. Afraid of overdoing it. What Momosagi didn't expect was that the other side didn't even hide. Are you moving too fast? Tear. The long knife slid past without hindrance, and Baki's upper and lower parts separated. Huh? Is this dead? Just took that hit. Momosagi thought she was so good. The result. That's it. No, there is no bleeding from the cut. It's a bit late to react, little swordsman. Baji catapulted Momosagi with both hands, and Sakura Momo smiled. Split. Momosagi's knowledge changed. Kimpiro subconsciously entangled armament hockey, and slashed at his broken hands. But after the blade comes into contact with the hand, what happened was not what she thought. Boom. Kimpiro. The moment it touched it, it actually fell apart. Suddenly fell to the bottom of the sea. She holds a knife handle, disheveled in the breeze. Soon, even the handle of the knife was broken. It slipped from her pink hands. Impossible. Momosagi's hands were empty, her beautiful eyes widened. This is a famous knife. Even a destructive ability user, after she entangles armament haki. It's not so easy to break at the touch of a finger. Could it be? Is the haki content not enough? Doesn't that mean that the level of haki on the other side is higher than his own? But such a little girl. How is it possible? Guillaume, pay attention and don't touch her hand. Seeing this, the crane below was not calm anymore. She has seen the Devil Fruit illustrated book. But the split fruit. Can it be developed to this extent? Influence beyond itself. Could it be that? To fight the rabbit, use all your strength. Bucky likes to deal with swordsmen the most. The more you rely on the knife, the more she likes it. The next situation is one-sided, and Momosagi, who has a weapon, is Admiral's backup. But out of arms. Just like a soldier on the battlefield who lost his spear. At a loss. In terms of combat power, it can be said that it was directly cut by more than half. Can only rely on physical contest. But Momosagi was soon at a disadvantage and retreated steadily. In the end, it fell back to the warship. Enough, enough. Crane hurriedly shouted to the top. What kind of pirate ship is this? Randomly send out a little girl, and they can actually defeat Tiaotu. This. How did you recruit them? East Blue. Are there so many folk masters? Ha ha ha, Marine, how could it end so easily? Bucky clapped his hands. Followed. A terrifying aura emanated from his whole body. Awaken, she took off her white gloves and murmured. White hands pressed down on the big warship below. Silala. There was a broken sound, and the hull instantly split into countless pieces. The incision is extremely round and neat. Ah, what's going on? Don't talk about me here, they're all gone. The female marines on it had no place to stay, and they all fell to the surface of the sea with a scream. Little Crane. Garp on the far end. Seeing this scene, his face changed, and his feet flexed slightly, and he ejected into the sky. Your opponent is me. A cool voice sounded. Mihoko confronted Garp with a knife in both hands. Crocodile. What are you doing, you stupid bitch, get them all out. Baki pointed his finger, suspended in the air and shouted. HMPH, in this world, aren't you a bitch? Crocodile said. Non-stop action. Rolls of sandstorms were released, and all the marines lying on the shattered deck were thrown aside. Some were even sucked dry and turned into dry skin. What are you going to do? The crane jumped into the air in a hurry, but was briefly suppressed by Baki. Hey, you'll know soon. The voice fell. The female marines were all thrown into the distance. Baki pressed down with one hand. The split warships are assembled again and appear intact. Within a certain range, she can split and combine large areas of inorganic matter. It is the power of awakening. Call. The sandstorm is getting bigger and bigger. Crane and Tiaotu didn't pay attention, and they were also swept inside. Trade the old for the new, don't you mind? I will give you an answer in another 3 days. Rodan leaping into the sky. When passing through. Smile goodbye to them both. Finally, it successfully landed on Crane's original warship. Bucky's feet also jumped to this side. She touched the brand new boat, showing a hint of joy. Can't wait to go and count the berry on board. Rodan interrupted her. Let's set sail first. I'm going to the power room right now. Here's the mainsail, Mrs. Crocodile. Rodan gave instructions in an orderly manner, and then looked at Mihoko, who was fighting fiercely. The latter seemed to have noticed something. White Sword Day danced a swordflower, followed the force of Garp's iron fist, and flew back towards the warship. At this time, Garp has no intention of fighting. He plunged into the violent sandstorm and rescued the two of them. After the three fell back again, Rodan and his party have long since disappeared without a trace. The female soldiers also got out of the water one by one, choking mouthfuls of salty seawater. It's okay to see the two of them. No one was injured afterward. Garp's heart was relieved, and he laughed heartlessly. Ha ha ha, Xiaohei, have you seen their strength now? You can still laugh. He glanced at him fiercely. Compared to this, they have added another strong man on board. According to the current high-end combat power analysis, they have far surpassed any Shichibukai faction. Chances are, it won't be opting in. It's still the nemesis of swordsmen. Momosagi felt like crying. Sister, I lost my knife. It's all gone. I can't keep up. Crane shook his head. My heart is also very helpless. Garp bites off a donut. What did they say? Think about it for 3 days. If you want me to say, take advantage of the first half, annihilate them in one fell swoop. Except for you, are the other Admiral-level forces so easy to deploy? Crane asked rhetorically. Actually, if they set their target on New World, then don't worry about it for now. Certainly. The premise is not to make too much noise in the first half. Inside the New World. Go cannibalism though. Go back and make a decision with Sengoku. The reward order has to be issued. New warship. Whether it is the power system or the accommodation environment. All 10 times better than before, because this warship is exclusively used by female Marines. A lot of women's clothing and so on are readily available, and everything that should be available is also available. But several crew members couldn't stand it. Past habits. Let them prefer less colorful lining. Captain, I have harvested a famous knife. Baki came to Rodan with the golden pira in his hand. After fighting against the rabbit, it was broken. She secretly assembled again. You can use it yourself. Rodan smiled slightly. Is this the knife Momoshagi-sama uses? Seeing this, Tashigi's eyes lit up slightly. Crocodile flew down and said disdainfully, you are still called an adult. They don't even know who you are, right? I didn't see you just now. It should be. I don't know, I'm on it. When Tashigi heard this, his eyes darkened. You're just a corporal. Mihoko shook her head slightly as she passed by. This word. So he stabbed Tashigi in the heart again. In addition, after this battle, everyone has a rough idea of Baki's strength. This weird ability. Even in the face of stabbing or slashing with armed colors, they are not afraid at all. Proper swordsman nemesis. And on board, the impact on a great swordsman like Mihouke is undoubtedly the greatest. Can only deal damage with blunt blows that are not good at. The strength is greatly reduced. Fortunately, not the enemy. Otherwise it will be a real headache. There was also a trace of urgency in Crocodile's heart. After fighting Hawkeye Garp, the pride in her heart had already been crushed a little bit. Desire for strength, it is also more urgent. If I remember correctly this route, it will arrive in Alabasta soon. Crocodile pursed his lips. Want to smoke a cigar? Her age is 20. Alabasta's sand crocodile is 44 years old. 24 years of practice, even if you slack off. After all, strength has improved a lot, right? But the stronger she is, the more she looks forward to it. Just wait, I'll finish you off. The warship is headed for the first battle, Whiskey Peak, in the direction of the record pointer. At this time, the atmosphere on the boat was full of scenery. Everyone is sweating. Working hard. Except for Mihoko and Baki. Their strength has actually reached a limit. Want to improve again. You have to start with actual combat. So Rodan put the two of them on to do other things. As for himself, with 5 times the acceleration efficiency, it is natural not to slack off. Just happened to have heavy dumbbell plates on board. Rodan was strapped to his leg. In a free handstand position, go down a little bit and do the bracing action repeatedly. After congestion, let the muscles look like a bursting feeling. Tashigi practicing sword. I only saw a few large dumbbells floating in the air. Flutter up and down. People are transparent. Do you practice fruit ability while exercising your arm strength? Tashigi was dumbfounded. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something, and her face became slightly hot. Don't be distracted. Mihoko hit Tashigi's ass with a scabbard. Ah! Tashigi cried out in pain, biting his lip. This is not an ordinary blow, but wrapped in an armed color. More penetrating, it also hurts more. Sister Mihouke, can you stop hitting that? No, Mihouke vetoed it immediately. Also, what were you thinking while staring at the captain? Talking. She narrowed her eyes slightly. Are you greedy for him? Women know women best. The captain is so handsome. This girl might be distracted by this, but it's all transparent and you can see it. This imagination is okay. How come? Tashigi blushed up to his ears, and immediately denied it. Then what are you thinking? I'm wondering. Captain Rodan will use his fruit ability to peek while he's taking a bath. Said the end. Tashigi's voice was almost mosquito-like. But Mihouke still heard it, and kicked her. Does the captain still need to peek? Tashigi heard the words. It seems to be the same reason. Then he stopped making a sound, not far from Rodan. While exercising, he was thinking about the future. He planned to increase his reputation first. As for Alabasta, there happens to be a sand crocodile that can help him improve. Not only can it be the first target to solve, at the same time, the main task was also carried out. Time flies. Half a day passed. Layers of fog appeared on the sea. The warship followed the pointer and officially arrived at Whiskey Peak. Through the mist, you can vaguely see one after another, with strange shapes, like mountain buns with candied haws inserted. There are a lot of bounty hunters here. Entering the waterway for the first time, young and inexperienced pirates will become their dishes. At this time, in a tavern house, a group of men with long knives on their waists or guns stuffed were drinking wine in one gulp. How long has it been since pirates came? Who knows, the town is about to run out of food again. Don't talk about that kind of bad news. You don't pay attention to this big East Blue news? You mean Hawkeye? Are you kidding? It's outrageous. That is, if she dares to come, Lousy will kill her first. A man with a red beard and a scar was talking, and suddenly smiled evilly. No. The pictures in the newspaper are so beautiful, hee hee. That figure, if Lousy meets you, you have to let her take care of you first. Talking. The bounty hunters around also showed malicious expressions. Aren't there two shadows? A man and a woman? What's wrong? I like that figure, it can bring me infinite reverie. Damn, no way, you can even make the shadow of a woman. Fart. Lousy is talking about that man. Everyone heard the words. Suddenly quiet down. Why don't you talk anymore? Lousy is tired of playing, can't you change your taste? The bearded man looked around. But I found that my companions were all stunned on their seats, not moving. He followed his gaze suspiciously. Looked towards the door. This look. Almost peed my pants. The body also staggered, and fell to the ground without holding on to the table. It's like a thief was caught by the police. How to say? Just come. At this time, I saw a few people standing at the door. One of them. It perfectly fits the figure of the mysterious man in the newspaper. The key, Hawkeye pretend sister, is also by his side. This speaks for itself. In fact, they just talked about it. Everyone is not stupid. Those who were able to fight Hawkeye were even featured in the newspapers. Whether you win or not, still alive, that proves everything. Where are the people outside? The man with the red beard and scar looked at the crack of the door. All the people on the ground could be vaguely seen falling to the ground. Red blood flowed out. See here. The man with the red beard and scar was shaking his head. No. Impossible, how could there be no movement at all? Solve so many people in one breath, anyway. Will you fire a gun too? The rest of them had their mouths open, as if they hadn't recovered yet. After some people reacted, they quickly turned on the apology mode. Misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. My lord, it's what they said, it's none of my business. Suddenly, a short man tried to run, but not 2 steps out. People haven't seen anything yet. A thin line appeared on his neck. Fell to the ground. Who said to serve before? Mihoke stretched out her slender white jade fingers, showing a captivating smile. I will only serve the captain alone. Rodan glanced casually. After seeing her pale and strong palms. Couldn't help swallowing. The difference in physical skills between the two is a bit big at present. If you are forced to serve, you may not be able to bear it. Seeing a crowd of people lying down outside, Toshigi at the door trembled slightly. But she didn't speak, because it was the bounty hunter who took the lead. If there are people outside at this time, you can see reward orders floating down from the sky. That row of zeros. Dazzling. It also makes people feel crazy. Boom. It is not known who fired the shot. The smell of gunpowder rose rapidly in the tavern. Rodan hasn't ordered yet. Crocodile emptied the room of all the people. I don't leave a single one. I can't even ask questions. Talking. Rodan turned and walked towards the door. It was at this time, 100 meters away. A man with strange yellow curly hair and a suit and tie came running quickly. A muscular dark-skinned woman followed beside her. Behind them, he also followed hundreds of people. All of them held weapons and looked brave, but when they saw the blood all over the ground and the lying bounty hunter, their speed gradually slowed down. What's going on? Look, there is a new reward order on the ground. Someone found yellow paper on the ground, and more than one fell dead. Almost everyone holds one. After Ikaram, who took the lead, picked up a few sheets, his original fierce expression disappeared without a trace. Rodan. Bounty 800 million berry. Falcon. A bounty of 1 billion berry. Rodan's pirate crew. Bounty 600 million berry. Rodin's pirate crew, bounty 100 million berry. Photos of the 4 of them were all posted, but the last 2 women did not need to be named. When the newspaper came out in the morning, did Marine distribute the bounty in the afternoon? Aren't you mistaken, an East Blue pirate group, this is the first time a bounty has been offered? Whiskey Peak is one of the first places to distribute, because there are so many bounty hunters, it is the place where it is received early. Quick. Look at the entrance of the tavern. One trembling hand, pointing forward. When everyone heard the words, they cast their gazes over immediately. Then he lowered his head and compared the reward order. His hands trembled. Immediately his eyes lit up. Everyone. Let's do it. Don't, such a high reward is definitely not enough. Look at these people on the ground, I think they brought it down. It's just 4 people, there are so many of us, what are we afraid of? It's just that we have more than 100 people now. If you take any one of them, you can eat and drink for a long time. Let's fight. Everyone boiled. The town is poor. I was so poor that I often ran out of food. Such an opportunity, I really don't want to miss it. But in front of money, few of them can stay rational, or everyone's positioning of the top combat power is not very clear. Do it, Mr. 8. Someone is egging on the leader, Ikaram. Gulu. The tall Ikaram swallowed, then offered a scroll of reward and hid it in his pocket. Then hurried forward. We're going too. Ha ha ha. Follow Mr. 8. Take a good guy. This is a pirate group with a total reward of 2 billion. The crowd then boiled up. But the people in the front row stayed where they were with astonished expressions after not taking 2 steps. The back row also stopped. Plop. Ikaram dropped to his knees in the middle of the run. The inertia also pushed up a layer of mounds, drawing 2 small ravines. Just when everyone thought that Mr. 8 accidentally fell down, he knocked his head down. Master Rodan, please forgive me. Others are stupid. Is he also stupid to follow? Before Crocodile became Shichibukai, there were only 80 million berry. Although at that time the gold content was higher than it is now. But whatever. There are hundreds of millions of rewards for one person. It cannot be defeated by numbers. I'm not interested in chatting with you. Rodan walked up to him with his hands in his pockets. Princess Vivi, I have something to do with her. You. Princess Vivi, of course in Alabasta. Ikaram's eyelids trembled, and he quickly explained. Why? Will he come to find Princess Vivi? At this time, the people behind turned around and were about to continue booing. A sudden momentum swept across them, and they all fell to the ground. The miscellaneous soldiers are cleared. Rodan withdrew his gaze and said, forget it, you don't need to talk about it now. The voice fell. Baki then carried a Vivi with a blue ponytail and a girlish attire over her. Placed on the ground. Ikaram was shocked, and quickly said, Master Rodan misunderstood, she is not Vivi. I haven't said she is yet. Rodan shook his head. Ikaram also realized that he had slipped his tongue, and wished he could slap himself twice. Okay, don't be so nervous. Rodan laughed, I'm here. Just to show you the way, to Alabasta. The record pointer is kept for 5 days, who would stay so long? Lead the way? Ikaram glanced at Vivi. You don't need to find the princess to lead the way. Excuse me, what are you going to do in Alabasta? Vivi dared to ask. He glanced quietly at Crocodile not far away. This look. The eyes are hooked. This woman. Why are you wearing the same clothes as Crocodile? Even the momentum is so similar. What are you looking at? I want to be with my old lady. Is my old lady familiar with you? Crocodile glared at her. Almost slipped my tongue. Blame that Rodan guy for mentioning the word Lily to her. Puff. Vivi almost laughed out loud. No more. She couldn't hold it anymore. The aura of the sand crocodile is very similar, but it is set off by a beautiful woman. It's so weird. And stare at the 2 long legs in black mesh. I really can't afford to be in awe. Switch it up. Just feel. It feels like Crocodile himself is wearing it. Crocodile seemed to notice. His face turned red. Walking behind Rodan, he lowered his head and clenched his fists. For a while, the creaking sound continued. Hey, pay attention. Rodan pretended not to know, and looked at Vivi. I'm here to help you kill the sand crocodile. What? Vivi's expression changed, and his eyes suddenly widened. Heaven. Will it drop pie too? Rodan chuckled. Your role is to lead the way, and then contact the Alabasta branch office, and just report the facts. Are you really going to help me? Vivi covered her mouth. Baki laughed and said, if you have money, you can reward us with 1 billion berry. Not so much money, my country, already. Vivi lowered her head. Under the crocodile's interference, it has become a mess. Whether material or financial, all fell to freezing point. It doesn't count as helping you, it's just doing it smoothly. Rodan got up. It's not too late, let's go now. Alabasta. Whether it's signing in or something, you have to go there. Think like this. He glanced at Crocodile behind him. What are you looking at? Crocodile, who was a little angry, suddenly stiffened. And at this time, the sound of the system suddenly sounded. Ding. The fame point, Whiskey Peak, has been detected. Do you want to sign in? Sign in. Rodan finally got it. Every time an island is reached, the system has to buffer for a little time before it can be detected. Congratulations to host for successfully signing in at Whiskey Peak, and getting a one-time love perfume, only useful for sissy characters. Love perfume. When the holder uses it on a female, the latter will gradually fall in love with the former until death. Do you want to withdraw now? This. Rodan's eyelids twitched, not serious. Then it is taken out from the system space. Spread your hands. A small bottle of pink perfume appeared in the palm of his hand. Rodan squeezed slightly with his left hand. Unexpectedly, a cloud of powder mist sprayed out from inside. Then the perfume bottle disappeared. Can't pinch? And it's really a one-off? Rodan was speechless. Is it such a waste? Cough cough. I don't know who coughed. Rodan turned his head and saw that the perfume was just on Crocodile's body. Rodan. Did you mean it? After Crocodile finished choking, he said in a deep voice. She is to Rodan. The more I look at it, the more unhappy I am. Can you do whatever you want just because you are a man? In her world, the status of men is very low, and they are often exploited by women. Can't resist. You don't feel it? Rodan wondered. What does it feel like? Crocker Derchong sniffed, and suddenly smelled the fragrance on her body. Look up again. My heart beat faster. I feel that the man in front of me has become a little more handsome. Fine. Rodan looked away. Perfume may not have worked. Anyway. Thoughts of Crocodile. It is the only one on the ship that is not controlled, which is considered a loophole. Perfume. Not bad for this guy. After. Everyone boarded the warship. As you exit Whiskey Peak, head in the direction of Alabasta. Rainy land. The news was also received at Baroque Studios headquarters. Rodan and his party, have you cleaned up all the whiskey people? In the boss's office at the headquarters, Crocodile sat on the boss chair, took out his cigar and slowly took a puff of smoke. Side of the table. On the other hand, there are 4 newly issued reward orders. It seems that the strength in the newspaper is not falsified. Crocodile muttered to himself. There is a trace of uneasiness in my heart. The Operation Ideal Township has not yet begun, and his goal has not yet been achieved. At this time, you can't let outsiders come and make trouble at will. Do you want other members to dispatch? Robin not far away asked. Do you think they can handle it? After Crocodile asked back, he extinguished his cigar. But the desert is my home field. Etc. Among Rodan's group. That woman seems to have the power of sand fruit. But, with only 100 million berry, the strength should not be very good. Think so. The phone bug on his body suddenly rang. It's from Naval Headquarters. Hello? Crocodile, Rodan's gang should be at your place. The old man's voice came. So what? Crocodile Kaido. What do you want to say? Help me capture him. No. We can't draw any troops. Then why are you calling me? Crocodile frowned. Let's be honest with you, he's interested in joining Shichibukai, and it's currently full. Say it. The crane stopped making a sound. You mean? Let me deal with him? Crocodile frowned upon hearing this. Winding around. Don't you just want them to kill each other among the pirates? In short, you can figure it out. The phone went silent. Crocodile's eyes flickered, and he got up and went to the capital, the palace where Cobra lived. His apparent identity. Ben is the hero who helps Alabasta fight against pirates. Borrow some soldiers to fight pirates. Presumably the king is very happy. Certainly. It doesn't have to be a fight, it's best if we can negotiate at that time. At the same time, East Blue. Teaming up with Alvida to chase down Buggy, the Straw Hat Crew's vengeance. On the way to Logue Town, Captain Buggy. Waving a newspaper in his hand, Mochi ran over, yelling, "Bounty! Your bounty!" When he was about to speak. A gigantic lion, flattening him with one leap. But Mochi did not give in and held his head up. Captain Buggy, Your bounty has increased to 600 million berry. As soon as this statement came out, whether it's Alvida on the ship, or the rest of the Buggy Regiment cadres, all turned their attention. The complexion is wonderful. Buggy himself was even more taken aback. 15 million berry crossed to 600 million? He shuddered. Quickly grabbed the reward order, but then he slapped her hard. Are you kidding me? You don't look like me except for your nose. She's such a cute clown. Let me take a look. I'll take a look too. A crowd of people gathered around. Indeed, much better looking than Captain Buggy. Yes, but the reward is so high. It does look quite similar. Could it be? Captain Buggy has been hiding it from us, but he actually has a younger sister. Kabaji rode on a unicycle. The crowd looked at Buggy in anticipation, or admiration. To have a sister with such a high reward is a very remarkable thing. Buggy felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by them. Do you want to deny it? Wouldn't that be too embarrassing? After coughing, Hokkaido in an uncertain tone, it seems to be. Rodan and his team successfully arrived in this desert-ravaged country after spending nearly a day. Alabasta. Have to say, this warship contributed by Crane. Well deserved to have the capital to sail the calm belt. The power system is indeed powerful and is completely unaffected by the size of the sea wind. Very fast. In addition, according to the original route, it is necessary to pass through Little Garden first. But there is a permanent pointer, just go directly to the destination. As for checking in, if you have time in the future, come back and make up for it. Besides, before arriving, the bounty was fermented for a day. The Rodan pirates are basically known throughout the Grand Line, especially for cleaning up Whiskey Peak. It was widely publicized by the newspapers. Once the daily newspaper was released, it was sold out. It is obvious that everyone has great interest in this Nova Pirates. Want to see where I can go, and the spread of fame. Let the cultivation card also start to change from orange to yellow. Morgan's is really my caring little padded jacket. Rodan, dressed casually, sighed. Use the storage ring to put away the docked, big warship. Have the opportunity. You can visit and cooperate. This. Vivi stared at the disappearing ship in front of him, and was stunned for a few seconds. Using Devil Fruit's ability, it can explain everything. Rodan walked past her smiling. Ah. Vivi was puzzled. You obviously don't want to explain, right? But she didn't care too much. There were many strange things going on in the sea. If you get to the bottom of it all, it will be too tiring. Besides, some of them are still private. Master Rodan, thank you very much. Bababa. You can come to help our country. Icarum's tone was sincere. That is, when I can't slow down my speech, I will shout a few songs. It feels weird. After a day of understanding. The two of Vivi have also confirmed that this group of people has no intention of Alabasta. Seem. Is it really just for Yang's name? Crocodile stepped on the golden desert, feeling the power of the elements around him that he manipulated at will. There was an idea of mastering everything. Bucky saw her stop where she was. The surrounding wind and sand are surging, and I immediately understand. Stupid Crocodile, if you have an illusion, you can compete with Mihoko again. Say it. She slapped Crocodile's hand suddenly, laughing like a silver bell. Through a feather coat. Crocodile felt the pain and trembled involuntarily. After reacting, she was instantly annoyed, and she was about to move as soon as she turned around. Clown, you are courting death. Come on, is my mother still afraid of you? Bucky held his head high, but the next second, there was a pop sound. Bucky's body also trembled, and then he bit his rosy lower lip tightly. Trying not to make a sound, he turned to look at the man behind him. Captain Rodan, what are you doing? Let you taste what it's like to hit someone. Rodan withdrew his hand. He likes to use the same method to deal with Baji, who likes to be funny. Subsequently, he glanced at Crocodile. The latter, who just wanted to make a move, had no choice but to endure it. Change to the past. She definitely wouldn't let it go. Anyway, she would say a few harsh words. But the last day I don't know what happened. The more you look at Rodan, there is an inexplicable feeling that subconsciously wants to get closer. This sudden thought startled her, and she couldn't bear it. Just stay as far away from Rodan as possible. With fluttering long hair, Vivi pursed her lips. For this weird combination of pirates, I suddenly felt a little unreliable. Not just on clothes. What's more, in his usual conversation and behavior. He is obviously a woman, but so masculine. Princess Vivi, you don't have to worry about it. Tashigi approached and whispered, actually, everyone on the boat is weird except me, just get used to it. Well, I don't care. Vivi a little bit. But I saw Tashigi whispering to the bewildered Ikaram. Ms. Tashigi, your highness is over there. Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm highly myopic. Tashigi blushed. But there is no way. Mihoko wouldn't let her wear it. Vivi's eyelids trembled violently a few times. She equals the only hope. That is to say, the bounty offered by this group of people can match their strength. Think like this. She mounts Duck Runner, Kuru. Lead the way forward. This is our country, let me find a transportation for the few. It's not that troublesome. Mihoko's single sword is carrying a huge desert creature. Tossed over. I don't know where it came from. There was a loud bang. Countless gravel was rolled up, setting off a gust of wind and sand. We use this instead of transportation, you just lead the way. Well. Vivi swallowed, that's all. Everyone headed towards Barlow's studio, which is the direction of Rainland. A few people were not hindered along the way. But the small towns they met along the way all showed surprise when they saw that they were the big pirates in the newspaper. Not the slightest bit scared. People in your country are quite courageous. Well. Because of Crocodile, everyone knows that the pirates who break in will not end well. Ikaram explained. Sounds like Sand Alligator is a nice guy? But in the end, only they who are lurking in the work club know. After walking out of the town not far away, several people stopped. At this time, in the distance, groups of people riding desert mounts, wearing hoods and wearing standard uniforms came towards them. As that? The Royal Army? No. Why did they appear here? Vivi and Ikaram were taken aback. In the heat wave, it is dusty. The earth shook. Next to it, it is a dense and huge army. Taking the lead in the front is Bell, the adjutant of the Kingdom Guard. And beside him, it is a sand crocodile with a shiny purple back head. He temporarily seconded this army in the name of arresting the big pirate, and fulfilling the duties of the 7 warlords of the sea. Fight against pirates. King Cobra was also a little worried about Rodan's arrival. I just borrowed some. And in the capital, Albana, there is a standing army of 600,000. This point, it's just drizzle. Opposite. Seeing this, the faces of Vivi and Ikaram in front changed. Rodan smiled slightly. The visitor is not kind. Armed and menacing. It was clearly aimed at them. Bell, stop. Vivi jumped off the running duck, ran to the front, and shook her hands. Ikaram also stepped forward to stop him. Captain. Princess Vivi. Why did you go there? Bell looked from a distance. Suddenly his eyes lit up, and he shouted. Come here, those are all pirates. They may have been held hostage, leave it to me. The sand crocodile waved him away, narrowed his eyes, and approached on a desert camel. Guhahaha, are you the mysterious Captain Rodan from the rumors? Under close observation, he saw the woman dressed like himself. Subconsciously clenched the cigar in his mouth. You were quite polite. You actually brought so many people to welcome me? Rodan jumped cross-legged on the moving crab. The rest of the people also came down together. Where? Don't get me wrong. The sand crocodile tried to explain. I'm just assisting these troops to find the rebels, and by the way, attack pirates with bad intentions. The plan is near. It is better for the two sides not to fight, or not to fight. But he is not afraid of things. Coincidentally, I just have an attempt. Rodan looked away. Immediately afterwards, Crocodile came up from behind with the fragrant wind. Wait a minute, I'll go up and talk to Bell. Ikaram hurriedly said. Captain Rodan, please don't accidentally injure the Royal Army, our goal is Crocodile. It's not that troublesome. Rodan smiled. Ikaram was taken aback for a moment, not understanding what it meant. At this time, Crocodile walked straight forward. Don't be beaten and cried by the master-turned-self, you'll lose our face, okay? Baji giggled, and suddenly his nose moved. You bastard, a big woman, actually wears perfume on your body? She took a few steps back in disgust, feeling chilly. What a man. Crocodile paused slightly, and stood shoulder to shoulder with Rodan. She ignored Baji, but said in a deep voice, You. Don't let my old lady down? What are you? The sand crocodile exhaled a puff of smoke, but after seeing the face of the woman in front of him clearly. Heart pumping. This look reminds him of bad things. Guhahaha, it's okay to imitate lousy, but he still wears such nondescript clothes. The persuasion from the bottom of sand crocodile's heart is a coincidence. Then he jumped off the camel. Momentum. Eyes. They're all alike. And the upper body is his clothes. Lower body. But it's so scratchy. Sand crocodiles feel weirder and more disgusting. So far. The wind and sand around the sand crocodile's hand began to become disordered. Ugly things, get out of Lousy's eyes. Ugly? Crocodile's temper also came up. The murderous mouth rose and fell slightly. At this time. A system sound sounded in Rodin's heart. Host, please pay attention. When the same character in the parallel world gets closer to 3 meters, the other party will know that the opposite party is a girly version of himself. Note. This is the only side effect of summoning, it is not a serious problem, please rest assured host. Rodin was taken aback when he heard that. Why are you saying it now, when Hawkeye? Was this? He couldn't remember. Never mind. Know it when you know it. It has to be dealt with anyway, at this time. But the sand crocodile couldn't help but took a few steps forward. Captain Rodin, are you deliberately asking her to disgust me? At this time. Exactly close to 3 meters. A stream of information suddenly flooded into Sand Crocodile's mind. In front of, is it myself in another world? Although ridiculous. But when thinking that the opponent also has the power of sand fruit. That's no coincidence. The Sand Crocodile's expression changed dramatically. He said so. How can there be an uncomfortable feeling? Nausea? Crocodile wanted to go straight up and kill him. But now. A bold idea suddenly appeared in my heart. Hee. That would make you even more sick. The fragrance intensifies. She grabbed it with a big hand and savagely dragged Rodin to her face. Pressed it gently. Rodin felt a suffocation and quickly got out. But it's not over yet. Crocodile pushed him into his arms again. How about it? Can you imagine yourself and a man lying in your arms? Yes, he is the man I like from the bottom of my heart. Inexplicable impulse. She couldn't bear it anymore. Baki and Mihoko were shocked when they heard the words. Actually. Interested in Captain? Where did she have the guts to pick on the captain? The sand crocodile opened its eyes. He bit off the cigar directly in his mouth, and clenched his fists into ultimate. Looking at myself in another world. Get close to a man. Enter a little bit. No, so uncomfortable. Stupid, stay away from him. The rest of the people saw this scene. There is an unexplainable feeling when seeing the gloomy face of the sand crocodile. I was even more puzzled. That's what people say. It should have nothing to do with you, right? Could it be? Jealous of a man? You have guts. Rodin lost his voice. Crocodile collapsed in his arms. Herself. In fact, it is also muddled. Rodin let go of her and stepped aside. Love perfume. So violently? And Crocodile's strength has also recovered. Desert sword. The sand crocodile turned its hand into a sand blade and swiped forward. Then he cut fiercely along the sand face. No, hurry up and save the princess. Belle yelled. Using the ability of zone fruit, it turned into a Hayabusa man. The royal army in the rear is also preparing to go around. Enclosed from both sides. Crocodile stared at the desert sword that had been cut. Move your right hand. Pressed on it without haste. Next second. Something that frightened the sand crocodile happened. I saw that his condensed sword disappeared into a ball of loose sand the moment he touched it. Is this the desert sword? Crocodile was a little disappointed, and also pulled out with one hand. A sand blade wrapped around a purple armament hockey. More violent. Crocodile spat out his cigar, feeling hard. Just imitate her and press with one palm, but. An embarrassing thing happened. His right hand with the gold ring, from the palm to the upper arm. A splash of blood splashed out. The muscles on the whole arm are hot. Learning is useless. This level of hockey. The sand crocodile endured severe pain. Impossible. Will his strength be inferior to his feminized self? Desert. Poof. The sand crocodile hasn't shouted yet. There was a spasm in the abdomen. In front of him is a woman who also has purple back hair. And her fist was wrapped with rapidly spinning desert spikes, and hit her navel hard. Cruel pain. Ding. A drop of blood fell. Quickly absorbed by the gravel. I really didn't expect that you can't even respond to the attack speed. Crocodile retracted his fist and waved his leg. Boom. This time it was blocked. But the sand crocodile's left hand was in pain. Impossible, you are still so young. His golden scorpion coat slipped off, revealing the sharp hooks inside. Then quickly turned and swiped, but only got a piece of sand. It's over, trash. Crocodile appeared on top of his head at the nape of his neck. Clenched hands. He hammered down hard. A dangerous instinct rose in the sand crocodile's heart. Want to escape. However, he found that there was a numb feeling in his neck that reached to the tailbone. Eyes blurred. His burly body of 2 meters tall knelt down on the ground. Crumbling. Call. There was a sound of sand. His coat rattled and he leaned forward. The whole process seems to be very long. In fact, it was only a little over 10 seconds. Before even taking a few steps, Wang Gojin was stunned. Shichibukai. Impossible, just fell down like this? They only sent one person, is this a defeat? Everyone couldn't believe it. Heroes of the kingdom, so brittle. Just when Crocodile flew down, trying to make up for the knife. The sand crocodile turned into a gust of sand. Immediately afterwards, a push with both hands manifested. Heavy shalon. Language fall. Rolls of rapidly spinning sandstorms erupted in the center, but there was no sign of it. People who were near. All were swept up. After Crocodile became elemental, the color of knowledge was released. Searching for the real body of the sand crocodile bit by bit. Quick battle. After a few minutes, the sandstorm gradually died down. After the royal army joined Vivi at the beginning, they withdrew hundreds of meters away. At the center, the sand crocodile wearing a small vest and a big cloak was panting heavily. Bloody all over. On the other hand, in Crocodile, the situation is much better. Vivi clenched her fists nervously. After a few seconds, she relaxed. I saw the sand crocodile lying on the ground with its back facing the desert. Juan. She felt tears welling up in her eyes. I have been lurking for so long, the enemy I have to deal with. Only defeated by that man's subordinates. The joy of this moment is indescribable. Her nation. We can also usher in the real spring. Princess Vivi, the turmoil is over. Ikarm's mouth trembled. He fantasized about winning. But, I didn't expect to win so easily. This man is far more terrifying than imagined. Wang Gojin looked around in a daze, not knowing what to do. Rodan walked up to the sand crocodile. Crocodile still had the strength to speak. Want to kill me in exchange for Shichibukai's seat? Then kill. I'll give you a chance to choose. Rodan smiled slightly. The sand crocodile's eyelids trembled. Opportunity? Just kidding. Rodan suddenly laughed. Look at you, are you serious? What? You're kidding me. Puff. Blood flew. Ding. Kill a Shichibukai. Successfully shorten the drawing time by 2 days, you have 2 days left to draw randomly. The purpose of Rodan's trip has also been officially achieved. Crocodile came slowly. He is weaker than I thought. In fact, in the battle, the sand crocodile regained its original feeling little by little. Over time, it won't be so easy to deal with. But this is a fight, and she won't give her opponent a chance to adapt. Rodan said calmly, you were quite domineering just now. Dangerous atmosphere filled the air. What do you want? Crocodile was unafraid. Subsequently, the first rain fell in the country. The conspiracy of the dead sand crocodile was exposed, the citizens knew everything, and the civil strife finally subsided. Of course. Rodan and his party became heroes and were kindly invited to the capital palace. Except Bucky. At the headquarters of the Barlow Work Agency, there is still some money hidden by the sand crocodile, right? At the same time, the branch office is also busy working. This. Another big news, and the shock caused will be far stronger than defeating Hawkeye. When Rodan stepped into the palace, the system sound also rang. Ding. Is the famous Alabasta checked in? Sign in. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in at Alabasta, and rewarding a rejuvenation pill, plus paramecia silent fruit. Rejuvenation pill. You can be 10 years younger. Note, the upper limit for one person is 3. Silent fruit. Enhanced version without side effects, please develop it yourself for details. Rodan was overjoyed. A rejuvenation pill for 10 years younger? Good stuff. Even if one person can only eat 3 of these things, it will add up to 30 years younger. If put in the auction, I'm afraid it will cause everyone to go crazy. Rodan put the reward in the storage ring. This pill is of no use for now. Store it first. Another paramecia fruit of silence. In the original book, Corazon has eaten one, which can create a sound insulation wall that is invisible to the naked eye, and isolate all sounds from the outside world. The inside cannot hear the outside. The outside cannot hear the inside. After an ability user puts a shield on someone, that person basically becomes a dumb plus deaf person. Unless the capable person himself dies. Otherwise it will last for a long time. Certainly. Is not permanent. You'll have to wait until you eat it to find out. As for being a wretch. No, it's a good fruit of assassination. And transparent fruit. Then just can't cancel the sound. What the two can do together, it goes without saying. And Rodan thinks, Corazon did not fully develop the fruit's abilities. It's in my hands. It's still an enhanced version, so make good use of it. Rodan thought. He and the crew have arrived in the palace, and King Cobra hastily greeted him. In the hall, a banquet-like event was held. Captain Rodan, you really are a talent. Cobra and the captain of the guard, Jacka, hurried over to greet him. Thanks. Would you marry your daughter to me? Well. Cobra's expression froze. Then he actually looked him up and down. I feel pretty good. Pity, but a pirate. Are you serious? Haha, of course it's a joke. Rodan said, I'm here to tell you something. Captain Rodan, please speak. Cobra nodded. Bottom of my heart. I was a little flustered. Who knows what this ruthless character will say? Any request? Just in case. Bigger than Crocodile plots. Then he couldn't take it anymore. Relax. Shichibukai should have brought great turmoil to your country this time, right? Rodan stepped up to the high position alone. Follow the throne. Then sat down. Mihoko and Crocodile stood on both sides of him. An indifferent aura that is different from the kings of the past. Radiate out. The guards in the palace tightened their weapons. But oddly enough, at this moment, they couldn't afford to resist. Only Gyaka withstood the pressure and said forward, that's the country. Shut up. Cobra stopped him in a low voice, then looked up to Rodan to hear what he had to say next. The man who easily defeated the sand crocodile. Not Shichibukai. In other words, Rodan is a pirate, he has no restrictions. Is Alabasta a member country? That's a fart. If you are strong, it will be difficult for me to sit up. Rodan leaned back in the chair, looking down unobstructed. People. Guards. Lord of a country. They were all under his gaze, silent like cicadas. What Rodan had never imagined in Hibalati in the past, was actually accomplished in this way. I just don't know how to replace it with sitting on the void throne. What would it be like? Shichibukai is a very troublesome thing for you. Rodan tapped the handle with one finger. And my purpose happens to be to abolish all Shichibukai and make this system disappear completely. Clear voice. It shocked everyone present. As a country suffering from infestation, Cobra already has in his heart the idea of proposing to abolish this system at the next World Summit. But he was far from expecting a pirate. He actually thought this way and made it public and told them. At this time, an indescribable thought surrounded in Cobra's mind. The same goes for the rest. Sand Crocodile is the first and it won't be the last. Rodan smiled slightly. You can think that I'm bragging, and I don't care, you just need to help me do one thing well. Sir, do you need any help? Cobra said seriously. He is now. I really don't know what I can offer. Let all your citizens know me with a positive image. Rodan said. In addition, help me pass the branch office, contact the head office, and add a paragraph to the newspaper. He didn't bother to do these trivial matters. Plus he found out. It's just Yang Ming, the speed of upgrading the cultivation card is not fast. Everyone only got a general idea of him. Not emotional. Not vibrating enough. Taking advantage of this time, Rodan plans to order something big. With a summoning system. If you're cringing, that's no fun. These are just minor obstacles. Cobra's voice was sonorous and powerful. But when he knew the content of the report, almost passed out. At this time, Baki suddenly barged in. Captain, it's over. Barlow works. They were all searched for her. Rodan nodded. Stepped down from the throne. Captain Rodan, good luck. Cobra opened his head, and the others followed suit. This moment. Not only did they not believe it, but they hoped that he could do it. Annihilate the Shichibukai. The next day. Rodan killed the Shichibukai, sand crocodile, and helped Alabasta expose its stealing country plot, which spread throughout the Grand Line. Marine wants to tamper, but Morgan's refused. Because this is just a foreshadowing for another big event. Besides, Marine didn't give enough money. At this time, Shichibukai held newspapers in his hands, his face was cloudy and uncertain. Some thoughtful, some disdainful, some laughed, and some didn't care. East Blue Barati. All the chefs were sweating, took off their chef hats, and kept wiping the sweat stains on their foreheads. Compared to him, Sanji is just playing around. That kid now. Can't tell that he was an honest person before? Naval headquarters. Boom. Sengoku bursting into rage. He took a newspaper and slammed it on the table. Crocodile. How dare you do something like that? As a Shichibukai, it actually extended its tentacles to the franchise countries. Moreover, Alabasta is not simply a member country, but one of the founding countries of the world government 800 years ago. However, the Neferutali family left the Holy Land of Marie Joyce. Otherwise, kings are also celestial dragons of the Holy Land. The most important point, this matter was reported smoothly. It's too late to stop. The franchise country protected by the world government was almost mastered by Shichibukai in the end. Isn't this a slap in the face? Besides, Suru said, if Rodan really said it in the newspaper, then he has no plans to join Shichibukai. What a young man who can't control himself. Kizaru pouted and scratched his head. Do you want to overthrow the Shichibukai system by yourself? What do you think? What is his purpose in doing this? Crane pondered. Is there any benefit for it? That's what the newspapers said. In order to prevent more things like sand crocodiles from happening, and Shichibukai abuse of power. Save these Shichibukai for marine. But sand crocodiles are only a few, and it is impossible for everyone to be like this. Maybe it's just a passionate young man, maybe it is. Kizaru scratched his head. He started to pick up the earwax with his little finger. The corner of Sengoku's mouth twitched when he saw this, but it was no surprise. Which Shichibukai is he closest to? The first half, Moriya's territory. If you let them go, this guy might really kill them one by one. Sengoku frowned slightly. Speaking of which, couldn't it be made up by Morgans again? He dare not do such a thing. Crane shook his head. In short, monitor the movement of their fleet first, if they are close to the three-masted sailing ship, or the capital of the Seven Waters. Sengoku's eyes flickered. Or enter the calm belt by the warship, then you have to arrange it. After all, face has been lost, and it would be too unreasonable to let people get away with it. The three admirals in this department are not just for guarding the door. Rodan's warship is now heading for Gaia Island. Sailing more than a day. Budge, how many berries are there in total on board now? Around 600 million berry, Bucky said without thinking. A small part comes from the original warship, and the money is not very much. Most are from Barlow Works, Rodan nodded. Originally, they wanted to use the money to go to the capital of Seven Waters to build a boat that belonged to them. Now there is this large warship, you can go or not. Now, Rodan has eaten the fruit of silence. Cooperate with the words of transparent fruit. Make this warship transparent and silenced. Basically no one can find it, unless you use observation hockey to scan it. It has to be more advanced. But no one will bother, and always use a calm mind to sense with knowledge. Certainly. Does Marine have advanced detectors like radar? I do not know. At this time, the training token in the storage ring has changed. Rodan quickly took it out. Fame. Has it finally paid off? He was slightly happy. I saw the cultivation card quickly turned yellow, and then rushed towards green. Not for a while. It's completely green. It seems that the impact of this news is really not small. Let Shichibukai take the initiative to abdicate, and no one will take care of it. But it doesn't matter. This is just a gimmick. At this time, the training card in Rodan's palm has also undergone new changes in its functions. All-round improvement. Added the ability to adjust the direction as you like. Hockey training and fruit development. If you don't choose and keep the default, it will be 15 times faster in all directions. Choose words. There is a superposition effect. A single type can increase to 30 times the speed. Practice for a day. Worth a month, certainly. Whatever you choose. All enjoy the 15-fold acceleration of basic physical training. Just choose between hockey and fruit. Rodan was actually a little annoyed by hockey's practice. This stuff. In addition to the improvement of basic actual combat ability. Still have to rely on grinding, he intends to choose the fruit. It happens that the development of two fruits will involve a lot of energy. Now with 30 times the speed, it can be solved. That is, food can be consumed in great quantities. Don't mention this. Transparent fruit and silent fruit have been deeply developed. Rodan wondered. To what extent can the power of the two reach? How come the more you look at it, the more it looks like behind the scenes? He shook his head. Captain, you don't have to work so hard at all. Mihoke came over and said, with us here, we will protect you. After all, You are a man. In the pussy world, the man is responsible for receiving training, and it is enough to look after the children at home. Men in this world really work too hard. Rodan was taken aback when he heard that. Listen. Listen. Is this still human? This is to stimulate himself and make him practice more diligently. Aren't you underestimated by these girls? Ahem. If each of you can match a 4 emperors, then I don't worry about it. Captain, we are almost at Gaia Island. Bucky jumped down from the observation deck. If we are lucky enough to meet God's cumulus clouds and pass through the upwelling current, we can still go to Sky Island. Speaking of Sky Island, there was a look of treasure in her eyes. You've been to? Rodan was a little curious. Of course, Sky Island has a lot of gold. Baji grinned. For a while, I went up to snatch a lot. If it's not inconvenient to carry, I'll do it all. Certainly. It's the Sky Island of her world. Let's talk about it when we get to Gaia Island. Rodan is also interested in Sky Island. Not only that god, but also strange shellfish. The latter is for him who has a storage ring. But good stuff. But you have to be able to go up. Rodan looked at the background of the system's lottery draw, and the cooling time was almost cleared. It seems that the next summoning will start soon. Who will it be?